Nothing we say is investment advice. Please pause on all 3 pages of this disclaimer and read it.
Good morning, everybody. Cowboy here, and it is now, what the heck time is it? 8:30 a.m. EST. It's actually, right on the dot. So we are taking a look at Bitcoin on the chart right now, and definitely pretty accurate here. My main path is what Bitcoin followed. I did have this move down here. That was a contingency. I did think it was possible to break down, and it looks like it was a downside. So far, fake out, breakout. So what happens a lot is that in these consolidations, if you're a real trader, you understand that a consolidation will break either upside or downside, and usually relatively in a relatively volatile manner. So it's an opportunity to trade. And those who trade them will go ahead and do some measurements, look for that breakout, and take that trade. Well, it looks like the bears might have gotten trapped a little bit. Now, I don't think this is going to be a high time frame bear trap where they crushed price down just to get the people out in a big way. It's just price went down to below what I thought was a target, and I told my private group that I thought price would make its way down to 94,500, and it actually made its way all the way down to about 93,300. So not publicly, but in the private live lab, in that level of public, I did call the move down because the algos just said it, but I couldn't take the short. And I couldn't take this short because I didn't want to go against what was a lot of pivot points and support. Now, there were a lot of pivot points at the current level, which is 95.3. I could even take it a little bit deeper if I really wanted to, down to about 94.9. So basically 95,000 is the bottom of this range. And if you go back a little bit, there's a ton of pivot points right here at about 95.6. So there's basically a continually lowering kind of a bit lower and lower pivot points to the bottom side. And with that, there's just so much support that I didn't want to try to trade against that. But I did call that move down. And I also called the move back upward, right? So originally I had it bouncing off the bottom. Instead, we had this contingency hit, and now it's back in the consolidation. Morning, cool cat. I hope you are well, sir. This is like, this is what I thought would happen, more or less. Now, remember, today is the FOMC minutes. You'll see this white line down the screen. It's a very faint line. And on weeks like this, when major news comes out partway through the week, I don't forecast past that because that major news can change the landscape of the market. Now, the last FOMC, it already happened last week. We already have the information we had. I believe it was a no rate hike, no rate cut. And the data that's come out since then has been relatively mixed, but the CPI, I think the last CPI we saw was just a little bit warm. Some people called it a hot print, but long story short, quote unquote, higher for longer, or that's kind of the narrative that we got. And then we got some retail sales data that made the economy look weak, which would actually indicate that possible cuts are coming. But in reality, a lot of these numbers are in fact I'm just going to say that I think they're fudged. I don't talk to the people who put the data together over at the Bureau of Labor Statistics and its other counterparts. But a lot of those numbers, I believe, are put together for the consumption of the public because they simply won't tell you how they put those numbers together. I mean, why not? We're supposed to be hearing what's going on in our economy. Why don't we know what these numbers are and how they're put together? Why are we not told? Why is there so much lack of transparency in anything the government does when it comes to money, like, with Doge and all of that? Why is it people on a certain side of the aisle get upset when the people on the other side want transparency? That I find very strange. But what I don't care about is all of that stuff when it comes to trading. I take a look at the charts, I take a look at what's going on the broader landscape, and I make my decisions to trade based on that. Solana, take a brief look at that. So Solana has had some FUD lately, and I did expect it could have broken out either way. I drew this chart prior to the FUD. The FUD has to do with Solana having a bad look because of the Libra coin, and quite frankly, the Melania coin. It looks like the Melania coin has followed what may have been a pump and dump, and there's some people are putting out diagrams and stuff saying that the same team that did Libra did Melania, and now everybody's talking, and who knows what's true. But what is true is that both of those tokens were released, and both of them saw a very strong, basically a rug pull. Now it seems that Trump is holding on, but long story short, when you have very public rug pulls like that being released on Solana, like that first Haktua, and you start to hear rumblings about this kind of thing, Solana is what's kind of being looked at and blamed. Well, guess what happened with FTX back in 2022 era? FTX collapsed. Solana was looked at as part of the problem for whatever reason. And the whole market was falling anyway because we were going into a bear market. And I told everybody in 2023 when Solana, and I mean everybody at Algo Factory, that when Solana fell, Solana's fundamentals remained unchanged. So basically, there's no reason not to have it, right? The entirety of crypto, Solana included, fell because of FTX and just because of the bear market. And yet the fundamentals remain unchanged. And I told everybody in 2023 that I was very interested in buying Solana below $20. Lo and behold, it's been well above a times 10 on that. And I'm not saying that's going to happen this time, but you know what? I'm not saying it's not going to happen this time. And word is, at least a lot of people think, that this business is a great reason to just get Solana on the cheap. Now, we all know that the crypto market and Bitcoin could fall further. For the moment, I do think, and as I've put on Twitter and other public places, I do feel that Bitcoin is at a decision point right now, and there's a high probability that Bitcoin will head back down. And I think today's FOMC minutes, which will occur at a time that I will talk about in like 1 minute, I'm just going to take a look at the calendar. Before we do that, I do think we're going to see Bitcoin be in this area for today, this 96,000 area, and then maybe it has to do with what FOMC says, maybe it doesn't, but I think we'll see Bitcoin quite possibly make a move down to about 90,000. Could happen, might not happen that quickly, might not happen at all. And as things develop, I'll have a better idea of it. I'm not in a short trade. As a matter of fact, the screen shows what I think will happen, and I've been adapting this plan as it's been, as the charts have been printing. I've been changing the plan, but it's all very public on Twitter as to what I think will happen. And there it is, So, Lisa Gray, what are views on Philip Morris International? Are you asking me like what I think about the chart? Because I don't really worry too much about fundamentals. Not usually. I'll take a look at the chart, mostly because the chart's going to tell you what you need to know anyway. I mean, it's looks like a strong chart, at least on the low time frame. I mean, it's gapped up. So here's the problem: is that people who want to be traders, a lot of times they'll hear about a stock going up and then they'll ask about it. Well, here's the problem: you're not a trader. No offense, Lisa Gray, I love you to death, but if you want to be a trader, you want to find these things before they go up, because after they've gone up and you found out about it, the people who owned it beforehand are selling to you. Right? So price goes up, news gets out, everybody hears about it, more people buy, and the people who bought lower are selling to you, and you are providing their exit liquidity. Because if you were not there, they would sell it and the price would go down as they were selling it. But with you there to buy it, price stays high so that they can sell into you and your bags. I mean, it's just an upward chart, So I got nothing else to say about it. It's a bullish chart over time. It could continue or not. It's a bullish chart. There's nothing else to say about it. You might get a pullback, you might not. If I were to try to I mean, you're looking at a massive move. Like the smart money probably got in April of last year, like a year ago, at $88. That's probably when they bought, and now they're at almost a times 2, right? So that's when they bought. Now it could extend, but the most I think it would extend is 160, and whoever bought at that time is getting a times 2. I'm sure most people making the big money bought call options, and this is just the underlying. But when you have a strong move like this, what I want you to look at here is the size of this candle compared to all the candles before it. When's the last time the market saw any green candle this big? I don't see any. None. I see no green candles going back to 2009. I see no green candles this size. Closest one would be at the 2020 crash and just after, right? So no green candles this size, no move this size in the history of this company going back to 2009. I would be very interested in selling this off at this point. If I had it, I would take profit and I would sell into all the other people who are just getting the news. Because when you have a move like this, the magnitude and the strength of this move has never before been seen in this stock's entire history, then there's a very high probability that this is going to sell off. That's just a very high probability that's going to sell off. I'm not saying it's going to. It probably will eventually, but I think there's a very high possibility that you can see it head back down to this area and then do whatever it's going to do next. And that's just based on the history of this asset and the size of that move. So that's my opinion on it. But I might be wrong. It could continue up, but even if it does continue up, then it will sell off then most likely and come back down. And either way, I think it'll come back down to 134. All right, good. Well, that is it for the public live lab. Thank you all for watching. You can see that I'm pretty darn good at predicting where price is going to go. If you take a look at this chart here, I drew this and I put it out there publicly on Sunday. Okay, this right here has not changed since Sunday, and it's very, very accurate. The price has crossed over my drawing a number of times, and I drew this 3 or 4 days ago, and price is literally going along what I said it would do. This is called forecasting. Some people call it witchcraft when I'm really good. There's times when I'm wrong. Go back and watch the videos. I'm wrong, and I'm wrong, like, I don't know, a decent percent of the time. I bet you I'm 80% accurate or not, I'm tops 85%, tops, probably closer to 75. That's great. If you just keep betting on a 75%, probability, you will win over time. I'm very good at what I do. And this isn't rocket science. I could teach anybody how to do this. And I also teach people how to build trading systems so that you can have a predictable result. Are you tired of just gambling on stupid shit coins in the crypto world and losing all of your money or not having consistent gains, chasing that 100x like a child? Come on over, learn how to trade like an adult over at algofactory.tech. That's what you should do. If you really want to be a trader, come learn how to trade like a hedge fund pro, right? It's what we do. I'm very good at what I do. Algofactory.tech. Do not ever forget, and this is just a joke, but don't forget.
Join us or die.